Hey y'all, welcome back to Mama Loves Manga. So as you can tell from the title of this video, this is another sit down and read your manga. If you're new here, this is a segment on my channel where I share what I've been reading recently. Most of what I'll be talking about in these videos, I already have clips of me talking about them in depth on my IGTV, but I realize that not everyone follows me on Instagram or uses Instagram, so I decided to bring those clips over here and just kind of, add me sitting here talking to y'all. So if you do follow me on Instagram and you've already seen these, I'm sorry. In this video, I will be mentioning a couple of titles that I have not talked about here on my channel or on my IGTV, and that's because I talked about them in videos that I did for Viz Media. And so before we get into this video, I did want to talk to y'all about my relationship with Viz. No one has asked me about this, but I figure that a lot of y'all have noticed that I've been popping up on their socials, their YouTube, their Twitter, and all that jazz. And so I figured that it would be good for me to sit down and chat with y'all about it and, be transparent and let y'all know first and foremost that nothing on my actual channel is going to change. But anyway, so I think it's safe for me to say this officially that I am an independent contractor with Viz. So those videos that you have seen me in, that wasn't just me being featured, that was me being paid. And I'm not mentioning any of this to brag. I just want to be transparent with y'all and let y'all know that yes, I am doing paid work for Viz, but my opinions on anything that I do talk about are my own completely. Like, I'm not out here lying about how I feel about manga for money, because it's not that serious. I don't need money like that. I really don't. I never want to take on a project promoting a series that I would not want to actually invest in myself. Like, I never want y'all to invest in things that I would not endorse, I guess. So I just really want y'all to know that, like, no, I'm not out here just taking every little thing that's thrown at me. And the people that I work with directly have grown to know my taste pretty well, so they know like what they can come to me with, and so it's a pretty good relationship. If you have any more questions about that, let me know in the comments. If there's anything that I can help you with, I might try. One thing I do want to say is please do not ask me for the information of the people that I work with, because that is very unprofessional. The thought makes me uncomfortable, and the only reason I'm mentioning that is because I have seen this happen with friends of mine who work in certain industries. They have had people approach them and ask them like, hey, I know you have an in here, can you give me so-and-so's email? No. That's very unprofessional. That would be very unprofessional on my part. So I'm not gonna do that. And that's not me trying to keep anyone else from getting opportunities. I would love to see more people get opportunities like this, especially people of color, especially women. But let's get into this little stack. First on the stack is Love Me, Love Me Not by Io. What's her name? Sakisaka. Io Sakisaka. This is the same mangaka behind Io Haru Ride and Strobe Edge. This is the first time I've read this mangaka's work, and I really enjoyed this first volume. I did a promotional video for this, so if you want to get a general idea of how I feel about it, watch that video. So moving on to the next title, and that is My Androgynous Boyfriend. This is by Tameko. Here you go. And I have already talked about this on my IGTV, so you can check out the clip now. Hey y'all, welcome back to Mama Loves Manga. So I finished reading volume 1 of My Androgynous Boyfriend by Tameko. This is a title that I've been pretty excited about ever since it was announced. And, you know, I pre-ordered it. It seemed like something that was going to be right up my alley. It's a slice of life, and it features an androgynous character. And I was just like, yes. And also just look at this cover. So of course I had to have it. Now, I will say that when I first started reading this, I was a little bit, I don't know if disappointed is the right word, underwhelmed maybe, but as I continued reading, I fell in love. I fell in love with the main characters. Meguru, who is the guy right here, is adorable. I absolutely love him. I love that he loves to be pretty, loves being beautiful, and he loves being beautiful for his girlfriend Wako. And as you read this, you do get to know like how they met, and it's a really cute story. They've been together for like 7 years. They met in high school, which I find very adorable. And by the end of it, I really did appreciate the story. I love that the couple is established. Like I said, they've been together for 7 years, and I love how supportive they are of each other. I love that they genuinely love and respect and care for one another. It's a very healthy relationship. They have a friendship as well as like romantic feelings toward each other. And I loved that. I loved how realistic their relationship felt. I think my initial, disappointment in this story was based on like the first couple of pages. When you first meet Meguru, he is being interviewed by people who just don't seem to understand him. And they later on, like these coworkers are talking about him, and they're saying things like, "Oh, he's so adorable, and he's not even gay or a cross-dresser either." And then someone says, "What? He's this hot and straight?" And I don't know, like that was kind of off-putting, but it's more so the characters. So it wasn't necessarily the story's fault. I guess I just didn't really like these characters, and it kind of made me wonder, like, is this what the story is going to be about? Is it going to be sort of like this weird, like this weirdly ignorant kind of narrative? I was worried. I was like, oh, I don't like, because like one of the characters says, "Oh, he's so beautiful, I'm jealous. Doesn't he make you want to show him off?" And then someone else says, "Yeah, but actually dating him would be kind of rough." And I was just like, that's weird. Like, I don't know. I wasn't sure what the tone of this story was going to be. But as I continued reading, I was like, oh, okay. So thankfully, that is not the tone of it. Thankfully, it is just about a couple who is not traditional. I mean, they are traditional in the sense that they are a heterosexual couple, but it just shows that, like, even within a normal, I'm using huge air quotes and rolling my eyes so hard, couple, there can be differences. Meguru is really popular on Instagram, so he is somewhat of an idol, has a lot of fans, and so there's the aspect of them kind of having to, in a way, hide their relationship. Or not necessarily hide it, but they don't talk. He doesn't really talk about it because, you know, with idols, they have to essentially seem like they could be available to their fans. And so there's like a struggle with that. Wako has to deal with the fact that her boyfriend is prettier in a lot of ways, or at least, like, you know, is, I guess, more conventionally pretty, as far as, like, you know, he wears makeup and she's just not as into wearing makeup, and she's not as into fashion as he is. Although I will say that they are both very pretty people. It's very interesting how in manga sometimes, like, the not as pretty person is still really pretty. Like, come on now. Is it mind-blowing? No. But I do enjoy the concept and I do enjoy the people. And so I am going to continue reading this because I'm curious to see what happens between the two of them. I don't anticipate this being a very long series because I don't know how this could be a really long series. The art style is cute. I'll just show you. Of course the art style is cute. It has to be. Very cute. Not anything too different from what I've, seen. But, this is actually this was a funny scene. Meguru. Look at him. Yeah, Meguru is so cute. Oh, and then there's this character whose name is Kira, I think. I think their name is Kira. Or his name is Kira, and I'm pretty sure he might be asexual. It's implied in a way, or it's hinted at this possibility. So I do think it's cool that they might have different, just like a diverse cast. Like, it seems like the cast is going to be diverse, at least when it comes to sexuality and how they present themselves and things like that. I'm gonna keep following this one, see how it goes. I did enjoy this so far. Next on the stack is The Carp on the Chopping Block Jumps Twice. This is by Satona Mizushiro. This is the sequel to The Cornered Mouse Dreams of Cheese, and I also have an IGTV clip to share with y'all here, so check that out. So I just finished reading The Carp on the Chopping Block Jumps Twice by Setona Mizushiro. This is the sequel to The Cornered Mouse Dreams of Cheese. And if you saw my review on that, I talked about how I enjoyed how messy it is. And it's one that I do not, if you are the type of person who reads manga and thinks that you would want your life to be like that, please don't read it. Because it is not, this couple is no one's relationship goals. I don't think they should be. The characters do not good things. They are very flawed people. But it was very interesting reading about their relationship. And I enjoyed the mess in this as well, and seeing how they got through things, and it's just I enjoyed seeing more from them. That being said, I do think it's really cool that the mangaka wrote a little, I guess you could say, a letter on the back, I think, explaining her process. And I kind of want to read this. I'm going to try to read it relatively quickly. I might even speed this up, but I thought this was interesting. So they say, this series started as a story for a supplemental issue of the ladies' manga magazine, Judy. This was the first time I'd worked for a ladies' magazine, and I needed to think of a new approach, different from the things I'd done up to that point. The target audience was thought to be mainly housewives around 30. So what kind of manga could I draw for this kind of reader to enjoy? And the topic I was given was gay and BDSM on top of that. So I had friends who had lived and experienced all kinds of things before they got married, and now they're doing their best as housewives. I thought about what kind of manga I'd want to give them, and then I started tracing out the silhouettes of the characters while reflecting on my own self. I'm a woman who falls in love with men, but I often feel like making it work with a man for a long period of time is so hard. I'm sure lots of women feel the same way. But what if a woman who was more masculine and wonderful than those men came after me? I've run into someone cool who seems like a beautiful young man, and my heart skipped a beat, even though I knew it was a woman. But I feel like that's not the same as what a lesbian would feel. And even if it was, I have no way of determining that my feelings are the same. So I'd probably believe I'd fallen in love and I'd be able to just be with the other person. Sometimes I imagine myself like this. I'm quite a lot like Kyoichi-san. If someone likes me, I end up feeling fond of them. I sometimes feel like I'd switch to the next person to come along if they could take better care of me. And the people around me basically encourage this. But when it gets difficult and I'm on my own again, I get so satisfied, like actually being on my own is the easiest and the most fun. And no matter how much time passes, I'm never really interested in trying to change myself. Even if I can accept and welcome another person, loving them is hard. On the other hand, there are also people out there that you just fall like a ton of bricks for, even though you know nothing good will ever come of it. There's nothing harder than putting an end to that kind of love, and that's where I can really relate to imagase. I've always thought love is a kind of sickness. Both men are incredibly similar to me, and looking at the reactions I've gotten from readers, women and men, I think they're similar to readers as well. After following the twists and turns of this relationship, readers have talked about how they empathize and have experienced the same things as Kyoichi-san and Imagase. And seeing this, I get the strong feeling that while love is extremely personal, it's also at the same time incredibly universal. Many of my stories have dealt with the theme of love, but this series is probably the first of my works to have love smack dab in the center of the story. As a writer, I found it to be quite a lot of fun once I started it. My pet theory is that the macro and microcosms are equivalent in size. But now I think it might actually be interesting to draw more things that thoroughly investigate this small universe of the tangles of love and blind passion. Kyoichi-san is naturally indecisive, and he struggles with things, so I wanted to keep drawing until he became a good man in his own way, and I think I managed that. This story ends here, but I do wonder what Kyoichi-san and Imagase will do now. They're so utterly adorable to me. I'd be so happy if, from time to time, you had some love for them in your hearts. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end of this journey. To all the editors who worked with me, and the readers who determinedly kept reading this series as it came out in dribs and drabs over the years, I offer you my most sincere gratitude and appreciation. Satona Mizushiro, Spring 2009. So I do think that there could be a conversation about separating the author's intent from what you get out of a series, what you get out of their story. But I do think it's pretty important to understand the author's intent with this particular story. Because if she had not written this and explained where she was coming from, I think that my general feelings of the story would be not necessarily negative, because I did enjoy reading this, but it would just be a lot harder for me to recommend this story. But I think now that I know like where she was coming from, and that she wasn't writing this from a position of, like low-key homophobia, and she was writing it from the perspective of, of realizing that no, she doesn't know how it would feel to actually be a gay person and, falling in love. And she does recognize that there are differences in how people fall in love, and I found that very interesting because, as someone who identifies as bi or pan, the way I fall in love with people is very different from how someone else who maybe is gay or straight or another bi pan person falls in love. We all fall in love for different reasons, and I enjoyed that. I could see my feelings changing about this over time, depending on where I am in my life and things like that. So it's one that I'm glad that I have. But it's not one that I'm just going to be like, oh my gosh, everyone should read it, because I don't necessarily think that's the case. I would rather you skip this if you think you might be triggered. If you heard that, it's time for me to go because Jimmy, my my robot vacuum, is running now. So anyway, I think I said what I needed to say. Let me know what y'all think about this story, and also the first one as well, and let's talk about it. And on that note, I'm gonna go. Something I did want to mention about this is that I'm pretty sure I read on Twitter there was some controversy surrounding this because there's maybe some censorship going on within this series. I'd have to do a little bit more research. And I read this, like, it's been a month or so ago that I had seen it, and I'd seen it and then was like, that's interesting, and then kind of went on because the editions that I have are not censored, but if I'm correct, maybe it's just in the Japanese versions, but like I said, I'm gonna do some more research on that, and I'll put like information in the description box if you're curious. But yeah, if I'm not mistaken, there is a live action drama that's supposed to be coming out in Japan, centered around this, and because the drama will probably garner more of an audience, I guess they're wanting to kind of censor subsequent releases because the demographic may be lowered. Because I guess with the drama, they're probably going to be censoring some things, changing some things to make it more okay for TV. And so people are probably going to want to read the manga after watching the drama. And so I guess because they're worried that younger people might start wanting to read this manga, they are changing some things, or they allegedly will be changing some things in it. But the English edition, as far as I know, is not censored. And I definitely read on Twitter that the English, I've read this, and if this is censored, I don't know how it was before, because it's messy. So yeah, the English version is not censored, but I think that the Japanese version, the further reprints of it may change. But like I said, I don't want to be spreading misinformation out here, so I'll look into that and I'll put information in the description box. But I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. So next I read volume 1 of Scarlet. This is by Chidi Ueno, and I do have a clip where I talked about this. Time for another late night bedtime manga review. So I just finished reading volume 1 of Scarlet by Chidi Ueno. What do I want to say about this first volume? This is not going to blow your mind. It is not philosophical. It is not something that I would recommend to people who are looking for, a serious story. If you're kind of a little bit pretentious, maybe skip this one. If you're looking for action and fan service, suggestiveness, gore, vampires, werewolves, succubi, and all kinds of other fantastical creatures, and a semi-interesting plot that has been done before, but all in the form of a Yuri title, then you're gonna love this. It's a good time. It's a great time. This story follows a girl named Fine who was human but took this drug that turned her into something that is not human, sort of like a vampire type thing. And it also follows her friend Iris, who is a werewolf, and the two have made a pact to essentially stay together until Fine is able to become human again, at which point Iris will devour Fine whole. in general, this follows the two of them as they go and fight different bad guys. So it's definitely a bad guy of the week sort of story. Fina works for this group called the LEA or something like that. It's basically you know, drug catchers. What's the word I'm looking for? She gets called into different situations to fight bad people or whatever, and to try to stop the spread of this drug. One thing I do want to say about this is that the main character, Fine, is 17. You don't really find out her age until there's like character pages here. I can't even find it, but they have, you know, they have character pages where they list the name and age and all that jazz of the characters, and I happened upon hers, and I was sad to see that she's depicted as 17. That's annoying. Ow, that hurt. And of course, Iris is at least 100. So there's that creepy age gap where, you know, the one character is like centuries old and the other character is a 17-year-old girl. In this case, I am choosing to look past it because honestly, like, the characters are in situations that feel very adult. Like, Fine is not in high school. It's a fantasy world where I don't even know if high schools exist. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, meh. In this case, I'm going to overlook age because it's kind of arbitrary, in my opinion, in this particular story. They could be any age, and it's pretty easy to just pretend that they're any age. Fina is not drawn to look particularly young, you know what I mean? Like, she could be any age. So I choose to pretend that she is whatever age I want her to be. Oh, also, I will say, just to let y'all know, there is a Loli or Lolly character in here. She is a bad character, a bad guy or whatever. And again, she doesn't, it's very suggestive. Nothing actually full on happens, but it's a very suggestive story. And I saw what they were doing, and I was just like, I was annoyed. She's the type of character who, you know, if you've ever seen Interview with the Vampire, oh crap, the character that Kirsten Dunst played, the little girl who is a vampire, it's a similar character to that, where they've clearly were turned into whatever fantasy character they were turned into at a young age. So, I didn't like that, but she's not a main character, so it's fine. Anyway, I did really enjoy this. Let me show you the art really quick.
You're fine, keep going.
Go, like, brush your teeth or whatever. I'm trying
I'm already done. I'm just ready to get in my bed.
Okay, well, go. Don't just stand there and stare at me. Let me finish.
Finish.
Leave me alone. Also, don't pee because they can hear. The art is actually quite nice. I do enjoy it. There you go. Low key, this character Fina looks kind of like Yuki from Vampire Night. And I mean, low key, this is kind of on the level of Vampire Night. I mean, we're just gonna be honest and say this is like, it's trash in the best way. Vampire Night is trash in the worst way. They're both trash, but I like one more than the other, I guess. It's a fun read. Do I think that everyone should run out and just like grab this? Not necessarily, but if you like Yuri with the typical fantasy type characters, and all the stuff that I mentioned at the beginning of this review, then definitely pick it up. So in that clip, I mentioned that this is for me on par with like Vampire Night, and how I feel like both of them are, you know. So when I show you this next series, you're probably gonna be like, okay girl. Vampire Night memories. Okay, I'm not gonna do too much promo in this because I worked on a promo for it. I'll get into that more in depth later, like after my video drops. So the final series I want to mention in this video is Mars by Fuyumi Soryo. I read this on my Kindle and I don't feel like getting my Kindle out. It was an interesting ride, and you can check out what I thought about it in these clips.
So it's nighttime. I'm in bed. I just finished reading volume 1 of Mars by Fuyumi Soryo. So far the story follows this guy right here. I don't know why I can't remember his name. And this girl right here, I can't remember her name either for some reason. She is like a shy artist type. And he is like the bad boy who rides a motorcycle, you know? But they are drawn to each other. There are a lot of familiar tropes. If you've read enough shoujo romance, you have seen a lot of these tropes before. But I think that there are some tropes that are used over and over for a reason, because they're good, because they work. You know what I mean? And this, it just works. It gives us a story, it gives us drama, it gives us angst. I'm having a good time getting to know these characters. The art is quite lovely. I'll scroll through here so y'all can see a little bit of it. I have read her other series called Eternal Sabbath, and I freaking love it. So I already am familiar with her art and her storytelling, and this already is giving me what I want. I'm hooked, okay? Okay, so I just finished reading volume 2. Wow. This is, wow. I don't know what to say. I knew after just reading the first volume that this was, oh, let me not show y'all stuff. I knew after reading the first volume that this was going to be quite dramatic and angsty, but I wasn't expecting it to get this dramatic and angsty. I wasn't expecting some scenes to happen. Y'all know that I like to give content warnings or trigger warnings, but I don't know if I should in this case because I don't want to give anything away. Just know going into it that it is it's very emotional, and you could possibly be triggered. I really want to read more, but it's getting late and I'm tired. But this is great. This is great.
All right. Hey, y'all. So I just finished reading volume 3 of Mars. Okay, so let me get my thoughts together. When I first started this, I didn't really know all that much about it. I didn't realize that it was going to have the element of the motorcycle racing until I started reading it. And in this third volume, you really get to see him race, and you get to see you know, his love for it, but you see his recklessness too. And so there was like this added feeling of stress. I was stressed reading the race scene, and One thing I will say that I really like Kira's mom. She's not like a huge part in there, but I appreciate that she is a parent and actually is, you know, there for her daughter and gives her like rules and stuff. Like, I know that Kira probably hates the fact that she didn't get to go to this race, but I think that it was for the best that she wasn't there, because I do really think that if she had been, Ray would have been way too stupid. I feel like it just would not have been good. So anyway, I like Kira's mom and the fact that she is a parent and is there and present. I love to see it. I love to see that in shoujo romance, you know, parents actually being involved. No, they don't all have parents that are involved. Like Ray doesn't have parents involved, which shows. This is a story that I'm reading more based on feeling than I am critically. Because if I'm gonna look at it critically, to be honest, there's not really a whole lot about this story that is unique. I mean, the thing with and this is the same with like shonen battle manga, you know, so you get into these tropes, and what makes the series unique is the characters and whether or not you connect to them and how you connect to them. It's the same with shoujo romance. It can be repetitive because a lot of the same tropes are used, a lot of the same plot devices, but it's how you connect with the characters. And that's this, okay? I feel like I'm invested in these characters and I want to see what's going to happen to them. And I feel that Fuyumi Sodio does an excellent job. This is the second series of hers that I've read, and she does a really good job of making you connect with her characters, even if her general idea is not new. Like, this is not new. We see a lot of these stories with the troubled the troubled guy who is, you know, deep down he's a good guy, but he has a troubled past and he's kind of like a delinquent, but he doesn't care about school. He really cares about this one thing, which it could be a sport, it could be I don't know, whatever. In this case, it's racing sports, you know, that's what he really cares about. That's his passion. That's what he wants to do. He doesn't care about school. He's a rebel. And, you know, he had a hard childhood. He's gone through a lot of things that a lot of 17-year-olds haven't gone through. And then you have the girl who comes from a relatively well-adjusted life, but, you know, she has experienced some loss as well, because, you know, you can't have a heroine character that is completely without, you know, experiencing loss. But other than that, you know, she's like a goody two-shoes. She's sweet. She never gets in trouble, and, you know, she's understanding, but she's a talented artist, and so she's sensitive. Like, come on. We've seen these things before. But what makes this story great so far is the characters and how well they are written and how I'm able to connect with them. And I'm living for this. Like, it's taking me back to when I was young. Like, their relationship, the way they feel about each other. Like, as an adult, I can look at it and be like, y'all better be careful. Like, you know, there's that adult in me who is like, y'all don't need to be getting this serious. You're just kids. But then I remember, like, I met my partner. We were 18. We weren't much older than these kids. We met at 18. And when we first met and started dating, it was intense. When I think back to it, it was so intense. Everything was so serious, you know, and like, I just knew that I was going to be with him forever. I mean, and we are still together. Like, how long has it been? 16 years? Like, I've been there. And it's just, oh, this is reminding me. So I'm loving this. I'm going to read the next 3 volumes and come back with my thoughts. So I wanted to check in with my Mars journey. So I just finished reading volumes. Wait, what did I just finish reading? Okay, so I've read volumes 4 and 5. And I wanted to give my thoughts in just a couple of words. Volume 4, I hate Shiori. Volume 5, oh, shiitake mushrooms. Like, that, it ended on a cliffhanger that I was not expecting. Something I forgot to mention after reading the first 3 volumes, I really liked that one of the typical tropes was sort of like flipped and, you know, subverted a bit. You'll know, like, the whole mean girl trope. In the first couple of volumes, there is a character named, I think her name is Hiromi. I could be wrong. I could be forgetting her name. But anyway, she is a potential rival and she's mean to Kira. But this is kind of a spoiler, but their relationship does end up changing. And the 2 girls end up being friends. I mean, that's a spoiler, but it's not like a major spoiler because it happens pretty quick. And I really like that a lot. However, in volume 4 is when we are introduced to a character named Shiori. And she happens to be a character who is, you know, part of another trope that I despise, which is the narcissistic ex-girlfriend, you know, who shows up out of the blue and decides that she doesn't care that this guy has a girlfriend. Like, you know, and she annoyed me and I really wanted her to get hit by a car. Okay, so volume 8, holy crap. Okay, so I just started reading volume 12. And I wanted to say, so there, a lot has happened. A lot has happened throughout this series. It's just, the series, there's a lot of drama, a lot of twists and turns, and a lot of things that have happened. Some things were triggering for me because, and y'all know that I don't really like to talk about my own real life, my own past, but there are just some things that were a little bit too similar to things that I dealt with in the past. That's all I'm gonna say. But I wanted to mention Kira's mother. So I had said in like my first clip throughout this Mars journey that I liked her because she was present and she seemed to really love her daughter. And at that point, she wasn't really a huge part of the story. And I continued to like her. I felt bad when she ended up going into the hospital. But then there's a major revelation. You know, there's a major thing that you find out that happened to Kira. And even then when I found that out, I still liked the mom because I feel like the mom did what needed to be done. At first, you know, she got them out of that situation. So I was like, okay, like I'm curious, you know, to see what happens. The reason why is because one of y'all had mentioned that, you know, I may or may not like the mom later. And so I was just like, I still don't have a problem with her mom. So I don't know. And then the thing happened. And I was just like, how could you? How could she do that? I was so taken aback. I was so upset. And I was triggered. I was very triggered, again, because it made me think of my own life. However, now that I've started volume 12, I do want to say I cannot bring myself to hate her. I hate the decision. I hate the decision that she made, but when it came down to it, she clearly loves her daughter, and she still, in the end, did what was best for her. Like, she did the right thing. So I hate what the mother did, like the choices that she made, but I think that she, at least at this point, she's done right, at least by her daughter. And that's something that, I can't say for people in my life. Ooh, I have a lot of feelings about this. A lot of people really love this series, and I'm looking at, like, if I'm looking at it objectively, I can see why. It's hard for me to feel the same kind of, I guess, love for it that other people are feeling. What this story is doing a good job of is getting me to keep reading. So, and I'm almost done. There's only like 3 volumes left. So anyway, okay, bye. Okay, so I just finished reading Mars. It's stressful, triggering, dramatic. I'm always hesitant when I read something that is so beloved by so many people. I actually prefer Fuyumi Soryo's other title, Eternal Sabbath. They both have like twists and turns, but I think it works best in Eternal Sabbath. I think that Mars is still an interesting story, and I do not regret reading it at all. Like, I read it a lot more quickly than I expected because I couldn't put it down. I wanted to see what happened next. And I think that she does an excellent job of creating characters that you care about, I think my issue is just how over the top things are. And y'all know I love mess, I love drama, but there are some things that just, some of the things felt a little bit contrived in a way. Like the character Masayo, or Masayo, however you say his name, that character, I didn't understand the point. He had a purpose, but the purpose felt very contrived, if that makes sense. He could have very easily just not been a part of the story, and I don't think it would have taken anything away. If anything, it's just annoying that he was there, and he was there to give added drama, and I don't think that it was necessary. I don't think that he felt I don't think his character felt genuine. He was there for the shock factor, for the drama, and I was annoyed. It was entertaining. I do not regret reading it, but I don't think it's as solid a story as Eternal Sabbath is. Mars is not bad, and I can see why people would enjoy it because it is so, like, it gets your adrenaline going. You're just like, ooh, I want to know what happens next. It feels like an old school, like, teen-centered drama like you would watch on TV. If you were like me and you loved One Tree Hill, I can see exactly why you would enjoy Mars. It's so dramatic and entertaining, but I can't say that it's the best like shoujo dramatic romance that I have read, because it's not for me personally. There are a lot of very interesting elements, very interesting themes and topics that were being explored, but I just don't think that the execution was fully there. And like I said, there are just certain things that felt like they were thrown in there for added drama when it really wasn't necessary. So it's not a series that I would run out and go and buy the physical copies to add to my collection, but I did enjoy it. So there you have it. That's pretty much everything I've read recently. I did finish Tsubasa Reservoir. Chronicle by Clamp. I'm withholding my thoughts. I am working on reading through all of it so that I can make a video rating all of their titles from my least favorite to favorite or something like that. So this is the end of the video. If you have made it this far, thank you so much. Which, by the way, I'm realizing that I don't be saying thank you at the end of my videos, but know that I am always grateful. I am always thankful because I know that y'all don't have to sit here and watch this, you know? So, thank you. Thank you very much. And on that note, I'm gonna go sit down and read your manga. Bye.